Most writers draw their inspiration from real-life sources, whether from personal experience or a story they heard in the news media when it comes to writing horror movies. Screenwriters can take real-life events and expand on them, making them much more scary and powerful when writing a movie script. Next time you watch your favourite horror characters like Freddy Krueger or Norman Bates, keep in mind these aren't just harmless fictional storytellings. Let's take a look at 10 true origins behind famous horror movies. 10. Nightmare on Elm Street. Suspected pedophile Freddy Krueger is burned alive by the parents of his supposed victims. After his death, he haunts the children and parents alike and takes his vengeance on them. He finds his victims while they sleep and murders them in their dreams. Obviously no nightmare murderer existed. However, Wes Craven was inspired to write the story after reading in the LA Times the detailed deaths of Cambodians in their sleep. The paper featured 3 articles on 3 different deaths, but never connected the stories together. One death in particular caught Craven's interest, about a man who was petrified of falling asleep. When he finally did, days later, he died for unexplained reasons. Number 9. The Mothman Prophecies. This film details the fictionalized encounter with the legendary Mothman creature. It appears to be a winged human and is said to foretell ominous events. This story is far from fiction. The legend of the Mothman is alive and well in the eastern US. Many people have encountered this creature going back as far as 1966, when 2 young couples told police they saw a large white creature whose eyes glowed red when the car headlights picked it up. They described it as a large flying man with 10-foot wings following their car while they were driving. After the December 15, 1967 collapse of the Silver Bridge and the death of 46 people, the incident gave rise to the legend and connected the Mothman sightings to the bridge collapse. People still claim to see the Mothman every now and then. Number 8. The Hills Have Eyes. A car breaks down and a family is left stranded in a desolate area of California that is not intended to be travelled on. What they encounter is a group of cannibalistic savages who are looking for something to eat. While the true story dates back to 16th century Scotland, it is still terrifying. Alexander Beam was the leader of a group of 48 cave dwellers who got their food by trapping, killing and eating humans. Over 1,000 people are estimated to have been killed and eaten in the 25 years this group was active. Number 7. Jaws. A massive great white shark terrorises the small island town of Amity, Maine. So the new chief of police, a scientist and a local fisherman team up in order to hunt down the man-eating monster and stop the attacks. While the size of the shark is exaggerated, during 1916 there was a string of shark attacks along the New Jersey coastline that inspired the story of Jaws. The hysteria ended when the fisherman caught the shark, which added to the legend of Jaws. Number 6. The Conjuring. Unknowingly, a family moves to a new home with a mysterious past. After experiencing strange and dangerous paranormal events, they invite paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren into their home to help get rid of the evil entity. The movie stays eerily close to the real-life story of the event. The real paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren did enter an old farmhouse owned by Roger and Carolyn Perrin and their 5 daughters, who were allegedly terrified and even possessed by spirits. After investigating their home, Ed and Lorraine Warren declared that it was indeed haunted by a witch named Bathsheba Sharon. Apparently the spirit had lived there in the 19th century and tormented the family for the length of their residence. Number 5. An American Haunting. John Bell is cursed by notorious witch Kathy Bates after a dispute over land. The witch sets loose an entity that begins to terrorize his daughter. This film is based on the 1995 model The Bell Witch, an American Haunting by Brent Monahan. The Bell Witch is a poltergeist legend from Southern folklore centered on the 19th century Bell family of Adams, Tennessee. The Bell family were apparently under attack by a witch during 1817, and they claimed that the poltergeist's name was Kate and that she regularly curses at the family out loud. The Bell family would also often hear scratching noises outside their door after Belle found a half-dog, half-rabbit creature. Number 4. The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Emily Rose is possessed by an evil spirit and dies during an exorcism. The priest who performed the exorcism is then put on trial for murder, as no one truly believed the girl was possessed. The movie is based on the 1960s-1970s attempts to extract demons from a German girl named Anneliese Michel. After enduring 67 rites of exorcism, Anneliese died of pneumonia and malnourishment. But skeptics claim there was no possession, and the priests, as well as the parents, were charged with negligent homicide and sentenced to 6 months in prison. Number 3. Psycho. A woman steals a sizable amount of money from her boss and goes on the run. She stops in a remote hotel, only to be greeted by a creepy innkeeper who runs the motel with his dead mother. The story spirals into a murderous and deeply deranged tale as the audience uncovers the truth behind the motel. Norman Bates was only one of a few characters based on the real-world psycho, Ed Gein. He was a murderer and grave robber and collected human skin from his victims. Out of this, he made masks, belts, and furniture coverings. Novelist Robert Bloch changed this character to create Norman Bates, but other writers picked up where he left off. Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs were also based on Ed Gein. Number 2. The Exorcist. A young girl is possessed by the devil, and 2 Catholic priests attempt to rid her of a demonic infestation. The author of The Exorcist, William Peter Blatty, based his book on a 1949 article that detailed the exorcism of a young unnamed boy. This was an official sanctioned exorcism, and it followed the priests who were charged with the task. Much like in the film, the boy was said to speak in tongues, hover inexplicably, and move things with his mind. Number 1. Fire in the Sky. An Arizona logger mysteriously disappears for 5 days in an alleged encounter with a flying saucer in 1975. This terrifying UFO abduction is based on real-life events. While working with a logging crew in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest in Arizona, logger Travis Walton claims he was abducted by a UFO on November 5, 1975. While Walton was missing, his crew were interrogated by police, to whom they claimed they saw a hovering UFO craft that eventually abducted Travis Walton. Walton reappeared naked beside a highway after a 5-day search and claimed that he had woken in a hospital-like room being observed by 3 short, bald creatures. They eventually let him go. The Walton case received mainstream publicity and remains one of the best-known alleged alien abduction stories.